Your creative key to power. This discussion is based on the first part of the Master Key System by Charles Haanel. The purpose of this discussion is to talk about the creative mind. We have the power to change the outer world and bring it into alignment with what we would call the true self, which we talked about a few videos ago. I recommend you watch that video. Through the conscious use of the creative mind. Remember that mind is creative, he says, and conditions, environment, and all experiences in life are the result of our habitual or predominant mental attitude. Now reflect on your journey for a moment. Notice when you are in a moment of time identified with a certain state of mind, in which you call it empowering, flow, autotelic. And notice how people, environment, circumstance, and information reflected that particular state of mind. Now reflect back on another time in your life when you were in a polar opposite state of mind. Let's say disempowering, feeling like you're the effect of the world. And notice how people, environment, circumstance, and information affirmed that state of mind. That right there would be a lot of times the subconscious application of the creative power. We don't know that the mental attitude was creating our reality in the earlier stages of our journey. When we become conscious of this truth, we then realize that we can change our experience as a result of changing our mental attitude. One of the ways to reveal our predominant mental attitude is to observe the inner dialogue, inner conversations. These inner conversations are also known as imagination-based inner conversations. And since imagination externalizes itself in reality as experience, what are we imagining via our inner conversations? We can either have inner conversations of disharmony in relation to ourselves or others, or circumstance, or information, or we can have inner conversations, one of harmony, in relation and in contribution to our true self and what is desired to be brought forth from the true self. This is how we experience the externalization accurately from conscious use of the creative mind. Now, most of these inner conversations are revelations of the subconscious mind. As in, many of us don't go around choosing our inner conversations. Rather, we experience inner conversations. We identify with them and create experience accordingly. When we become conscious on how our inner conversations change our experience in reality, we begin to experiment by changing our inner conversations through self-talk, through affirmation, by observing how we interpret people, environment, circumstance, and information and changing it within, and through our observation of the effects of this change within and the accuracy of precision of subconscious affirmation of the inner conversation, we observe as reality reflects accordingly, accurately. He says the attitude of mind necessarily depends upon what we think. Therefore, the secret of all power, all achievement, and all possession depends upon our method of thinking. I call this accurate thinking. Simple question: what are we imagining in terms of inner conversations? Is it accurate between the inner world and the outer world? What we desire to experience on the journey, which is in alignment with the true nature of our being, and the destination, as in, do we believe we are going to get there? If we experience unnecessary void, stress, frustration now in relation to our goals, dreams, and aspirations, then we are persuading ourselves to create those particular experiences usually identified in our inner conversations. Through the subconscious work, as we change the inner conversations, working with our imagination or inner dialogue, which is also working with the imagination, we will experience an understanding how everything right now in our experience is actually in harmony and in contribution to our dreams and our aspirations. Obstacles turn into opportunities. Signs and synchronicities reveal themselves. Instead of feeling rejected by the experiences in the world, we understand why it exists accurately because the meaning is found within. All power is found within. Now, what does this do? This affirms a certain state of mind. The state of mind that is in alignment with the true self, the true identity. As he says here, this is true because we must be before we can do. And we can do only to the extent which we are. And what we are depends upon what we think. What do we think about ourselves in relation to people, environment, circumstance, and information? What do we think about people, environment, circumstance, and information in relation to ourselves? And what do we think about these two variables that can be changed in relation to the unseen reality, which is our dreams and our aspiration, knowing that everything exists right now in this so-called outer world unseen reality? If it exists in the imagination, if you can imagine it, then you will one day experience it and see it in the seen reality, facilitated through our mental attitude, inner conversations. More accurately put, relationship, within to without. Outer world is a reflection, externalization of the inner world. It is the conscious and subconscious harmony-based application of the creative mind. Every thought, therefore, he says, is a cause and every condition an effect. We may not realize how so, and we don't have to know everything right now, but one of our goals in life is to bring more conscious awareness onto our subconscious. Carl Jung called this making the darkness conscious. Every thought, therefore, is a cause and every condition an effect. In relation to where we are right now, our dream, our aspiration, we have the power to observe our thoughts in relation to people, environment, circumstances, and information, and bring them into harmony within. And see how so that the condition and the effect is related to a thought or inner voice conversation. An imaginal act that is going on, mostly subconscious. That's why we're making the subconscious conscious. And you could say we heal those parts of ourselves, or we do the subconscious mind work on those parts of ourselves. And for me, I've only worked with 4 modalities, and I'll put a link in the description where I did a discussion on those. Subconscious mind audios, self-talk, revision, and environment. Those were the areas that work well for me. I've spoken to many others who have created or learned many other subconscious mind modalities that work with striking accuracy for them. And they have practiced them, and they have stuck with them. Because once something works and you stick with it, you continue to understand it more so. But the fundamental aspect of why this works is we're changing the depths of our being, most of which is subconscious within. And then we be, as he says. Then we do. Thoughts, emotions, behaviors change, as well as outer world changes. We'll talk about that in a moment. Every thought, therefore, is a cause and every condition is an effect. For this reason, it is absolutely essential that you control your thoughts so as to bring forth only desirable conditions. Now, in the earlier stages, this may appear difficult. And as we continue to evolve in understanding what's within our subconscious and focus on doing the inner evolution, inner changes within, we'll start to notice that most of our thoughts will then be desirable thoughts, so we don't need to adjust them. We're then looking for the ones that we would call undesirable, which would be disempowering inner conversations that we're having about ourselves and our relationship with others, circumstance, information. And that is the inner work that we do. We all do it. Every one of us is doing it. And as a result of everyone doing it, each individual's way of doing it and what they need to do it with may not be similar to another person because we are so unique and individualized from the same mind, individual expressions of the same mind. So thus, what we want to do is reflect upon our journey, where we are right now and our destination, and ask ourselves, what are the inner conversations we're having, which is experienced as mental attitude, knowing that the mental attitude reflects accordingly as experience. So let's talk about the creative mind plus mental attitude revealed via inner conversation. I call this power realized. Realizing your powers, and you already have the power. Now you are consciously applying the power, and you are realizing as the externalization of the conscious choice that has been affirmed on the subconscious in the creative mind, conscious and subconscious working together in harmony. He says, we cannot express powers that we do not possess. The only way by which we may secure possession of power is to become conscious of power. And we can never become conscious of power until we learn that all power is from within. Now, for whatever the reasons, if we had assumed and believed that the power was from the outer world, more and more so each day, by doing the subconscious inner work, we realize that the power is from within, and we can change our beliefs and assumptions and interpretations and affirm it to be true within with lighthearted conviction and watch it externalize, more and more so each day. So let's go a little deeper into this. There is a world within, a world of thought and feeling and power, of light and life and beauty. And although invisible, its forces are mighty. Life is unfoldment, not assertion. Aligning within, which is a joyous activity. Because everybody wants to be their true self. Watch the discussion I did on true self. I'll put a link in the description. And by being our true self, by realizing our true self, life unfolds to reflect that true self of the harmonious conditions, people, environment, circumstance, and purpose and contribution, and all those things which we call purposeful life and joyous life are experienced more so each day as a result of the unfoldment, which is from a affirmative state of mind in relation to the true self, which then that individual, who more and more so each day realizes it, automatically assumes the accurate mental attitude to bring forth accordingly. The world within is governed by mind. So all of this work, although I don't really see it as work, I see it as a joyous thing to do, because what else do you really want to do other than to experience what you want to experience, which is found by doing what we call purification of the mind. That's what this is. The world within is governed by mind. When we discover this world, we shall find the solution for every problem, the cause for every effect, and since the world within is subject to our control, all laws of power and possession are also within our control. In other words, we change ourselves within, and it externalizes as change in others. Why? Because of consciousness. All possession is based on consciousness, he states. All gain is in the result of an accumulative consciousness, and all loss is the result of a scattering consciousness. Let's talk about this. As mentioned, we change ourselves within, and our experiences and outer world changes. We can call it inspiration because it really is. You change yourself within because why? As he states here, as there is only one consciousness in the universe that is able to think, it necessarily follows that your consciousness is identical with the universal consciousness. Or, in other words, all mind is one mind. There is no dodging this conclusion. Now, the more we affirm this, the more we realize that it is this way, the more we will be able to enable the ability, which we already have, to work with the power of mind and express accordingly. So again, there is only one consciousness in the universe that is able to think. It necessarily follows that your consciousness is identical with the universal consciousness, or in other words, all mind is one mind. There's no dodging this conclusion. There's one consciousness in the universe able to think, and when it thinks, he says, its thoughts become objective things to it. As this consciousness is omnipresent, it must be present within every individual. Each individual must be a manifestation of that omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent consciousness. All agree that there is but one principle or consciousness pervading the entire universe, occupying all space, all being essentially the same in kind at every point of its process. It is all-powerful, all wisdom, and always present. All thoughts and things are within itself. It is all in all. Now, this is going to occur more so as we go through this process of purification of the mind to realize the true self and the connectivity with the true self of others. And then we align ourselves with what I would call accurate thinking, accurate mental attitude, harmony with the world within, and harmony with the world without. Now, this is the basis of all kinds of aspects that are going to be on your journey to creating success, whether it be in the entrepreneurial space, the relationship space, whatever space you choose. The accuracy of thought, which is revealed by inner voice conversation, mental attitude, or inaccuracy of thought, which is again revealed by mental attitude and inner voice conversation, is data for cause and effect reflection, cause within and effect in the outer world. What are we imagining? So let's get into a discussion about that. Externalizations of the creative mind and harmony. So harmony is accurate thinking. It is in alignment with the outer world laws of nature and the inner world laws of creation. Through the purification of the mind, we align with what we also call divine pattern. It is in harmony through our accurate thinking. And some of this more mystical stuff will make even more sense, and we only have to reflect upon our own journey, as mentioned. When we were in certain states of mind, why was it that we experienced reality to be a certain way to reflect that state of mind? Be it a positive state of mind or a negative state of mind, a positive mental attitude or a negative mental attitude, a flow state or a stagnation state. I had learned this through my journey of learning communication. I had met many mentors and those that I saw as masterful communicators, and they would teach me this idea of what was referred to, and I heard Tony Robbins mention this one time, transference. When you assume a certain state, and you can lightheartedly maintain that state, anybody who you interact with, you maintain that state, will reflect that state. Now, this can be challenging based on our beliefs and assumptions about ourselves and others and our relationship between the inner world and outer world. But this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about laws of nature, which is the outer world, and laws of creation in the inner world, and the bridge between, which is you. By being the true self, you automatically, through the purification of the mind, you become the true self. What is the purification of the mind? Well, it's reflecting on the outer world and realizing the disempowering programming within, and we change it through our inner conversations, by consciously choosing certain states of mind, by working with our imagination. As mentioned, I work with 4 subconscious mind modalities: subconscious mind audios, revision, inner voice conversations, as well as environment, consciously choosing the environments that affirm the state of being, which is my true self. But reflecting back on my journey, I discovered this so-called state transference. What is really happening? The power is within, as in you maintain the state. And how do you know you're maintaining the state? Well, a quick reflection is, do you feel in harmony between where you are in the journey right now and your destination. Are you feeling scarcity, doubt, void, or any things like that? That's going to put you in a certain state of mind. By changing those individual elements of assumption, which is based on past programming between the inner world and outer world, we'll start to release from that. So when they taught me these things, one of the things that they said to me was, look, you've just got to be involved with as many sales deals as possible, public speaking, and just place yourself in as many challenging conversations in relation to your entrepreneurial journey as possible, and you will grow and you will understand what I mean. So I did that, and I started to change. But then I started to realize more so of working with the power of imagination. And I realized that my inner voice conversations were creating my experiences. So I changed my inner voice conversations, and I noticed the accuracy of certain mental attitudes that were in harmony with those that I was experiencing that state of mind with. Because I didn't want to force in selling, force in team building, force in leadership. I wanted to experience a mirror reflection as a result of my state of being. Now, I realize that through the subconscious work of subconscious mind audio, self-talk, revision, and environment, I was becoming more of my true self, which I call the true identity. Some might refer to this as becoming the best version of yourself or higher self. Whatever way you want to look at it, the idea remains the same. You become who you are within, and the outer world reflects accordingly. As harmonious relationships, harmonious clients, harmonious circumstance. He says the world without is a reflection of the world within. What appears without is what has been found within. In the world within may be found infinite wisdom, infinite power, infinite supply of all that is necessary, waiting for unfoldment, development, and expression. If you recognize these potentialities in the world within, they will take the form in the world without. And how do you recognize these potentialities? How do you reveal these potentialities? By realizing more so each day that all power is found within. We need to observe in our inner voice conversations and what we're imagining when we assume, in whatever shape or form, reflect upon your journey, where you are right now, and your end result, and ask yourself, any of my thought processes, any of my inner conversations, are they about my mental chatter? Is it about how I'm not going to achieve, or another person's holding me back, or anything that disempowers you? That is an indication of not realizing that the power is from within, and we can change that. The world without reflects the circumstance and the conditions of consciousness within. So as stated, there is but one consciousness in the universe, able to think, and when it thinks, its thoughts become objective things to it. As the consciousness is omnipresent, it must be present within every individual. Each individual must be a manifestation of that omnipotent and omnipresent consciousness. We are all individual expressions of the same mind. We change ourselves within and observe the change as it happens. Harmony in the world within will be reflected in the world without by harmonious conditions, agreeable surroundings, and the best of everything. It is the foundation of health and a necessary essential to all greatness, all power, all attainment, all achievement, and all success. Now, to conclude this discussion, which is further built upon the previous discussions, I recommend you watch them. Let's reflect upon this final quote. Again, these quotes are from the first part of the Master Key System by Charles Haanel. A very powerful discussion. Harmony in the world within means the ability to control our thoughts and to determine for ourselves how any experience is to affect us. It's the understanding that you can control your thoughts. More and more so each day you'll realize, because as you control your thoughts, which is your inner conversations and your states of mind, and what you are imagining, and change it to what is accurate and in harmony between your world within and your outer world experience, it will become automatic because it has now become subconscious. And over the course, you may find more thoughts of disharmony. And you repeat the process again and again and again. Then, more and more so each day, you'll realize that you have the ability to control the thoughts. And one of the most powerful confirmations and affirmations to what we're discussing today, what he says here, is to determine for ourselves how any experience is to affect us. That means between where you are right now and the destination, that which you want to see brought forth, which is currently in the unseen reality, and you want to experience on this screen of space, whatever shows up on the journey, you have an ability to reflect upon and evolve yourself within, change the meaning within, change the assumption within using subconscious mind audio, self-talk, revision, or environment, or any modality that works for you, to experience how you want it to affect you. In other words, do you see it as an obstacle or an opportunity? Do you want it to be an opportunity or do you want it to be an obstacle? Do you want it to bring you into flow or do you want it to break your flow? And going back to what I said about that concept of state transference, how do you want to relate to others? When you know, for example, in the entrepreneurial space, that the products, the services that you offer are of absolute benefit and value to others, you affirm it to be so, and you observe as the interactions in your selling and marketing and relationships with team members, vendors, staff, whoever, reflects the accuracy of who you are. Why? Because as stated earlier, there's only one consciousness in the universe that is able to think. It necessarily follows that your consciousness is identical with the universal consciousness and, or in other words, all minds is one mind. As he states here, there's no dodging this conclusion. If you want a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.